There can only be one champion, and it is Kenya.
Singapore Rugby Sevens Series winners Kenya are expected back in the country in just under an hour for a hero's welcome in Nairobi.
The triumphant team arrived to a heroic welcome that has halted activities at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport as well as the busy Mombasa Road.
When the story of Kenyan rugby is told, we shall tell the stories of great players. We shall tell the stories of great homemade coaches and great managers. We shall also narrate the stories of forgotten legends. In that story, we will also tell you about the club's doctors. They are men who have devoted their lives and talents to helping the players. We can as well tell the story of one of them that solely attended to almost 30 players during cup tournaments. This is the story of a Kenyan physiotherapist, Christopher Makacha. Born in May 1962 in Kakamega County, he attended more than 5 schools for his primary education, starting off at Musingu Primary School before proceeding to Wasingishu Primary School. He sat for his O-level at Kenyatta Mwatate at the coastal province before proceeding to Kakamega High School to finish his A-level. Meet the man who began his sports career as a hockey player, leading Kakamega High School to nationals, later moved to rugby and settled as the team's physiotherapist. One would ask, why the switch? This is that story.
Hockey was my team then, and those days hockey was the main thing in Kenya. We were highly ranked in the world, so I enjoyed playing hockey. I think I stopped playing hockey when I was short-sighted. I couldn't see the ball, and the grounds were always dusty, sand. So it was a bit challenging to see the small ball with a hockey stick. So I stopped, but I didn't stop doing sports. Sports has always been in my blood, I can say. Even if I wasn't doing it, I was involved in sports. So I did my basics at KMTC, did physiotherapy, ended up specializing in cardiopulmonary in Duke States. But since I qualified, I started working. The first year I went to work in '97, I did All Africa Games. And I was a rookie. I didn't know even how Kasarani looked like, so it was a bit challenging. But that was the first engagement as a qualified personnel in sports in Kenya. After that, following year, we had 1998 Olympic Games. So the team that was selected to go had a friend from the military who went there, and I think we did. That was Seoul in South Korea, and I think we did fairly well. We are doing 87 All Africa Games. I was assigned to rugby ground, which was the first time I went there actually. So I didn't know much, but it was sports all the same. So while along after the 87 games, I came to meet a gentleman called Odipo. He was the team medical officer for AFC Leopards, and he requested me to help. He taught me how to do my fast trapping.
Odipo later went to the United States to become a sports surgeon. Makacha would then kick off his career as a sports physiotherapist at Shamako Babes. This semi-professional club had its training ground at the University of Nairobi, where other teams like AFC Leopards and KCB's volleyball team used to train. He offered his services for 3 years before moving to AFC Leopards, who did not have a physiotherapist. At first, Chris served the AFC Leopards until 1994 and stayed away from teams for a while. During this time, he was assisting his friend to operate a clinic within Ngara, and this was where the KCB volleyball team used to get their treatment. He did not spend much time there due to the huge responsibilities he had at the Kenyatta Hospital. In 1997, Makacha was approached by his friend who wanted him to take care of the Kenya rugby team. This was during the Safari Sevens, and this was the time he fully engaged himself with the rugby team. He became the first Kenya national team physiotherapist in 1997.
So what happened was like I could set up a clinic for physio. So I'll attend the national team, Kenyans, as well as any injury that could occur in those international teams. So I put up a team with 2 qualified physios and some assistants. So it was a bit hectic. You're covering the field, you're covering everybody. But then that's the genesis, how physio became a mainstream in the Kenya rugby. So along the way, I became the national team physiotherapist. But again, now when you go to tournaments, most teams do not have a physio. So our first game with the Arabian Gulf, we won here. The team traveled. I never used to travel, but I stayed, I think, I never traveled the team until the 2000s. The team doctor used to go with it, yeah, but I was always here. So in the 2000s when I started getting out of the country. But all the same, at that particular time, I also was helping out on club teams. So the national team, then it had the 2 teams. You had the 7s side and the 15er side. I concentrated more on the 15s. The 7 was glamorous, so, and I was a civil servant, I couldn't move around with it. So I stuck with a team that was more local.
It was not until 2000 that he started traveling with the team outside the country. By that time, the national team had 2 teams, the 7er side and the 15er side. He concentrated more on the 15er side, which was more local due to his commitment at the Kenyatta Hospital. He admits that the national team has its own challenges, and he recalls with nostalgia a time when the team was traveling that he had only a small box of painkillers and a few straps, while other opponents had a whole truck full of medical equipment. Not only that, but he jokingly says that the opponents thought he was some sort of magician.
And the first time I traveled the 7 was 2002 Commonwealth Games to Manchester. Yeah, so it was interesting. I think that's the first time we beat Samoa, and we are a very popular team. And then Keino was a very good friend of ours because we were performing at that particular. And I think that's the genesis of the Kenya Sevens. It was when we did well in that Commonwealth, and then we became on the world stage. As I said, I was associating with them just locally, but internationally I wasn't. And it's good, because when I came to the rugby section, I was nearly the only physiotherapist. So any tournament, the 7 series we could go, I was the only physiotherapist. So I was working for the union, but no team at all. My team, and maybe to tell you, when I started working for the union in '97, Impala wanted me to assist them. So I became an Impala physiotherapist, Impala Rugby. But since the union had nobody, the clubs had nobody, I was like the physiotherapy of everybody. Yeah, but lucky for me, I had friends. So they used to come and assist. And along the way, I can mention names. George Odhiambo came in, became the physiotherapist of Nondis. Kennedy Mugire, the current physiotherapist of Strathmore University. There's Coley Joseph, current physio of KCB. And there are many others. They just say, as you know, it's like you're growing. When you bring one person, they bring others. And I think I'm very proud of that, because these are all people who they followed my footsteps. And I think we have done well. The current physio of Kenya 7th, Lamek, was a student of mine and went to learn more things in South Africa, so he's doing fairly well. The challenge for a national team is the country expects so much from you. And of course you expect so much from yourself, because if you don't, then you lose the purpose. Because when I'm with the team and we try to tell the players that the best of the Kenya that can give. So if the player is playing whatever, and it's a 10, a fly-off, you tell him he's the best. And of course, if you tell the player he's the best, you should assume also you're the best the Kenyan can give. So you have such a high standards for all of us. And it's challenging. If somebody will tell you, currently we are still a third world country in sports. We can travel with a box of medical stuff. If you check your opponent, they've got a whole trunk of stuff. So they wonder whether you're carrying a magic box, because there's literally, they can't see what you're going to do with it. the goodness, human beings in sports, we are very friendly. So if you don't have something, the opponent won't feel bad to help you unless they feel you are a threat to them. So teams help each other out. But the challenge as a team physiotherapist then, nowadays it's changed, because I could travel as the only medical person. So I'll be like the nutritionist, the doctor, the physio, the masseur, the counselor. All those things come in because you can't say, I'm not one, okay? Lucky you have a mature team manager, they will also help you out. The coach will help you out. And of course, you know, if you take responsibility, if you're honest with your responsibility, you can't just carry the burden alone. So always, and luckiness that when you go out there, the organizers also have a local medical. So I could do all that stuff. The fear could be if players get maybe diarrhea in the team or malaria in the team. So you have several players that you need to sort out. But as I said, you contact the local medicine. But of course, when you travel here, you carry a few stuff for emergencies. Normally out there, you cannot just walk in a hospital or rather in a clinic and be given medicine, or even a pharmacy. Unfortunately, this is what happens here. You have to have a registered personnel, doctor, for your prescription. And that is it. If you don't have it, you have to go through that process. So it becomes a bit challenging, but it works. Somehow we know how to go around it.
He single-handedly provided services for the national team, comprising over 30 members, which to him was overwhelming. He worked as a physiotherapist, counselor, masseur, and nutritionist, and on top of that, as the team's doctor in case of any medical emergencies.
If a player is not prepared well, it's very hard for him to deliver, because you need to give a player the ideal conditions for him to deliver his service. Okay. When that is happened, then you can't blame anybody, because, I mean, it's those small things. You know, sports is just small margins for you to make success. So those are things I could say that should be important for the national team, especially the national team side should start. Then the clubs can copy, because the examples should be from ahead there. If there's no example, there's people run their shows and they're not accountable. And those results, of course, when I start saying, oh, no, we do not have this, is an excuse. And of course, it's an excuse because we should have anticipated those problems. And if you anticipate the problem, somebody should have been there to solve them. Okay? Because you're offering the service they've employed you to do. But if there are external things that are not helping out, it's somebody else who should do that. So when they present a national team, it doesn't go far. You just have to take maybe South African national team. It's advanced. We want to beat them, but why don't we imitate their professional structure, okay? The technical bench. Let's imitate that. Then we beat them on the ground. Because if we don't meet that, our players will always be short, okay? Will always be short of something. They wouldn't be having this and all that. But all in all, I always say we've come from very far. I was in the national team when we were training, we were getting 100 bob, or nothing at all. Okay. When we are making soup, my team manager will make soup for them to have something to eat and bread. So we make it from home, we bring them for them. But now I think they eat lunch, they do that. So there's a lot of progress. I've seen a lot in this rugby. When I came here, there was, as I said, there was literally, we are just from scratching around. Now we are doing much better. The teams are better taken care of. And as I keep on saying, as everybody keep on saying, youth, in Kenya, we are athletic people. If we can just improve the structures for the youth to excel, we'll do well. Kind of like Fiji, the main export is rugby players. And that's what the survival. Here we are, we've got sports, great, okay? What do? They're trying their best, but we just expect them to deliver.
Makatcha remembers the World Cup qualifiers match in Madagascar with a mixture of emotions. Among the countries they were to play was Namibia. This was a fixture that Kenya did not look at with anticipation. It happened that Namibia was a higher-ranked team, and Kenya needed just 1 point to qualify for the World Cup. If Kenya drew, won, or lost with a margin of less than 7 points, Kenya was to play Zimbabwe in the finals after beating Namibia. He says there was no way Zimbabwe was going to win that match. He remembers the foreign media houses asking them about the hotels they had booked in London because they knew it was a done deal.
So we went to Madagascar, and of course Namibia was there and our favorites. So in the meeting we are told if everything is we are draw, the higher ranked team shall be assumed the winner. So okay, so Namibia was the higher ranked team. But come game day, the first team we played was Namibia, and we beat them. And it was exciting. And we know we normally beat Zimbabwe, and I think there was Uganda, and there was Madagascar. So we knew here we are on a good track, and actually we were. I think we played Uganda, we beat them. And then, okay, Namibia beat their team. Anyway, in the long run, it came to the final day. Before even that game, people knew, because we were playing Zimbabwe, knew we were going to go to the World Cup. So the foreign media is asking us which hotel we want to go stay in London. So they were like, it is a done deal. And we thought so too, because we're meeting Zim, we've beat them, and we're going to beat them. So surprisingly, we needed only one single point for us to go to the World Cup. Because if we got that extra point, we will have beaten everybody and we are going to the World Cup. And it was possible, everybody knew that. So what was to happen was, we needed, even if we lose, we score 4 tries, then we get our 1 point. Or even if you lose, we don't lose with more than 7 points, then we'll get our 1 point, or we just win. So the 1 point was always there and the chance to go to the World Cup. Unfortunately, we didn't get that 1 point. Somehow things just worked against us. We couldn't get it going, we couldn't get, I mean, all those possibilities didn't work. It was so emotional.
He pauses for a while, relaxes back in his chair, and throws his hands as if it still hurts up to date.
So after the game, you know, the media that was excited about us, now they had to shift to go to Namibia. Now nobody's talking to us. The coach is emotional. We are going for dinner. People don't know what happened. Coach is emotional. Everybody is emotional. No, you want to eat. We couldn't. I can't say emotion in that people are crying, you know, because it was like food snatched from your mouth.
Kenya Simbas fell to a 28-10 defeat to Zimbabwe, a result that saw them finish 3rd overall in the competition. This after Namibia's 89-10 demolition job of Madagascar saw them book a 5th successive appearance at the Rugby World Cup.
We lost to Zimbabwe, a team we have been beating all this other time. So we lost to Zimbabwe. So we didn't even go for repechage. You know, Zimbabwe went, so Namibia qualified, we were number 3. It was a bit, I mean, it's one of the downers because we just missed it by this. Okay, we did, but the people for World Rugby, somehow, later on when we came back to Kenya, they were like, you know, a team ranked number 30, in 30s, I think we are number 37, shouldn't be going to the World Cup. It's not right, because teams of ranked in 20s and 10s are not going, and you're number 37. It wasn't a rebuke. They would just tell us we need to do better so that we are worthy World Cup finalists. So I think from that season, then we started having, you see, Spain came over, Germany came over, big teams started coming over to Kenya, just so that we can improve our ranking. And we did fairly well. We came to the highest rank, we came to number, I think, 23. And it is a high rank. And as I told you, when you talk of 23 in rugby, you might be talking like in football, you're number 23, you know, in ranks of Brazil, Germany. So it's a great, great number. Somehow we dropped that from there. But that was one of the nights.
At the beginning of a gripping day, the Namibians were outside hopefuls at best. But Zimbabwe's 28-10 win against Kenya, denying the Kenyans a losing bonus point while failing to secure a bonus point of their own, left the door ajar for the seasoned Rugby World Cup campaigners. As the dust settled in Antananarivo, Zimbabwe emerged as the team who would progress to the repechage. They would play Russia for a place in the repechage final. The results also broke Kenyan hearts. Kenya looked certain to progress at least to the repechage at the beginning of the day, having defeated Namibia earlier in the round-robin competition, but were left to rue what might have been. At the end, Namibia, Zimbabwe and Kenya all finished on 10 points, but Namibia claimed the title by virtue of having a superior points difference, plus 76 compared to Zimbabwe's plus 49 and Kenya plus 23. He painfully remembers the media shifted their cameras from them and focused on Namibia. To date, 2015 World Cup qualifiers match against Zimbabwe remains one of his worst nightmares.
Unfortunately, also the coach, we got a new coach. Now the second time out for the World Cup was 2018, is when we were number 2 in Africa, and we went to France. First we went to Romania just to improve our game, and then we went to France. We did repechage where we played Germany, Canada, Hong Kong, and I think there was another team. At that time, those are tough teams. So the easiest way for us to go to the World Cup is through Namibia. So we did our bet, but we didn't do so well. And that's the year I left Kenya Rugby. Then I started just doing Impala Rugby. I still do physio with consultation Kenya Rugby. Yeah, because you can't serve 20 years. You know, even you try 2 World Cups and you are not making them, you think maybe it's about time somebody else does this thing.
After serving Kenya Rugby Union for 20 years, Christopher Makacha left the Simbas in 2019, and he is now helping the union to come up with a medical structure that will groom more sports physiotherapists. He has retired as a civil servant. Together with his colleagues, they have set up a physiotherapy clinic as a way of giving back to the society.
Platinum Physio is, I think it's just a genesis from my rugby, because my partners also were rugby people. So as they hear that I was retiring, I think they also thought probably I wanted to go home and maybe rear chicken or something, do something just simple and enjoy my retirement. But we came up, say, look, Chris, let's do this. Let's start this clinic, and it still helps. You know, I still do rugby. Rugby players come over here, so it's still young. It's around. It's not yet fully a year old. So we're still trying to get things right. The good news is we have got space. We got a small gym, so it's a well placed for rehab. Good reception. What I can say is that. The legacy of, this is I'm beating up my own drum, but I didn't tell you that I had 35 players in South Africa for 3 months, and we are playing like a league. And that was a big challenge because they get injured, you've got to keep them. I'm just saying, you know, as a single person. I had done a specialized course in that, which really helped, okay? Which, and even the South Africans, I mean, we are kind of all impressed because if you know what you're doing, things are not as difficult as they look like. And I kept my team going for all those 3 months. We came back safely. So now here I am. I try to run the clinic. So with the knowledge, which even if I didn't want to, people say you can't just go home with knowledge. You know so much, you should do help. And since I'm a sports person, I do a lot of sports rehab. I do some pro bono stuff. I help some clubs if they don't have money. I mean, it's a good thing. And since I'm young, I mean, the clinic is young, it's good to do some services. Probably when we grow older, then we'll think more of money. But right now, we help out where we can.
Thus, when a story or a book will be penned in the future to capture our rugby glory days, we shall preserve a page or two for this extraordinary physiotherapist, Chris Makacha.